From our studios in Frankfurt, Germany, this is the AFN Evening News.
Good evening. 50 wounded from Sarajevo arrived at the U.S. Army Regional Medical Center in Landstuhl, Germany for treatment yesterday. The United Nations requested the medevac after a Saturday mortar attack on a Sarajevo marketplace killed 68 people and wounded more than 200. Two C-130s from the 435th Air Wing at Rhein-Main Air Base, Germany responded within 20 hours of the brutal attack. Combat Camera traveled with the medical team to Sarajevo.
Last night we got notified through the UNHCR and by watching the media that the attack had happened. We started leaning forward, and then at the request of the UNHCR we deployed airplanes down here in anticipation of the air medevac requirement. And the initial mission was to come down and do stabilization and analysis of each patient. And now that Mr. Akashi has given the okay, now we're going to go ahead and do an aeromed evacuation from Sarajevo back to Ramstein Air Base and Landstuhl.
Coordinated for this okay.
Well, right now they brought a lot of medical supplies, and also they brought their armored ambulances and APC. Everybody's in place and everybody wants to...
Because it was so recent after the attack, a lot of the coordination hadn't been completed yet, so we had to get here, find who was our contact person, find out where the patients were, what the numbers were, and that in itself has been a trial all day because many of the patients hadn't even been assessed yet or they were in the process of being assessed. So probably our biggest challenge has been finding out who they are, where they are, what their injuries are, and are we going to be able to move them today, which has been quite a challenge.
It's fantastic. I really want to say to all of you how grateful we are for the very positive and quick reaction of the United States, particularly to the 435th Airlift Wing who've come in, and also to the second, I think you call it AE3?
AEF.
AEF, thank you. I've been prompted by the Colonel side from Ramstein, because as you will have seen, all of you, the absolutely desperate injuries that happened, and of course it's completely overwhelmed the medical facilities here in Sarajevo. And so really the United Nations, NUMPOR in particular, are very grateful for this wonderful quick reaction, military help that you've given us here today, and it is enormously appreciated by everybody here, and of course particularly by the citizens of Sarajevo who suffered this unbelievable tragedy.
The wounded arrived at Ramstein Air Base, Germany last night. Sergeant Daniela Marcus was on hand as the seemingly endless number of stretchers were carried to waiting ambulances at Ramstein. And AFN's Linda Frost reports on the care provided at the U.S. Army Regional Medical Center in Landstuhl, Germany.
The first of 43 wounded Sarajevans evacuated by U.S. Air Force and International Red Cross aircraft arrived at Ramstein at 7:40. Two more aircraft, both C-130s, arrived shortly after with the remaining patients and nearly 80 family members. The wounded, most on stretchers, were quickly transferred to waiting ambulances for the short drive to the Regional Medical Center in nearby Landstuhl. Sergeant Daniela Marcus, Air Force News, Ramstein Air Base, Germany.
U.S. medical staff at Landstuhl's 2nd General Hospital quickly offloaded 46 casualties, including men, women, and teenagers. Most of them were in stable condition. A few were seriously injured.
It's hard to say because we're just now looking at it, but I saw several people who, I saw one that may need an amputation while we're here. And I also saw several who have had severe injuries to their fractures to the lower extremities.
Landstuhl staffers were concerned about the hospital's ability to accommodate the high number of casualties. However, medical officials are confident they can handle the influx of patients.
We have plenty of room in the hospital. We have enough space left for the patients that we expect tomorrow.
This is the result of hours of preparation by many of Delta Squadron's 300 members. They come from Air Force Reserve and Air National Guard units from all over the United States, flying 60% of the airdrop missions. They also fly 90% of the missions to Sarajevo, bringing supplies or evacuating casualties. The risk involved in these operations is real, but not unfamiliar to the air crews.
We train and use the same techniques every day that we do whether there's action or whether there's not action. We always make the assumption that there's going to be some type of action. And, of course, when it doesn't happen, we're relieved. But if it does happen, we try to be prepared for that.
The mission itself is as close to a real combat mission that we're going to get versus the training back in the States. You train for the mission, but now you're actually going out and doing it.
Delta Squadron's only job is supporting Provide Promise. That's why they get the bulk of the missions to Bosnia. Their active duty counterpart, the 37th Airlift Squadron, flies some missions, but not nearly as many as the Guard and Reserve. That's because the 37th is kept busy supporting other missions in the European theater. Sergeant Jerry Cormier, Air Force News, Rhein-Main Air Base, Germany.
During his trip to Poland with the military-to-military exchange program, Army Sergeant Tim Donahue got the chance to spend the day with the 1st Regiment of the Polish Army. Unlike our all-volunteer forces, the Polish Army has mandatory service. In his first report on the Polish Army, Sergeant Donahue finds out how the soldiers feel about being in the Polish Armed Forces.
All young men in Poland are required to spend 18 months in the military. Most of us don't know what it's like to be drafted. It's one of those things that's necessary. We're here, and we make the best of it. I feel we'll be better prepared for life after the Army and have a better outlook on life. Operating a military in a young democracy like Poland creates some problems that are answered very simply.
My regiment's responsibility is training the soldiers and keeping up morale. The other matters are dealt with by our civil government and state agencies.
A typical day in the Army is a busy one. We get up at 6 and do physical training, breakfast at 7, and then on today's training until 11, when we have what we call our second breakfast. Then more training until lunch at 2. After that, we're usually released until dinner at 6, and our nights are free to visit girlfriends or go to town. Pride in service bridges all militaries in all countries.
Yes, I do feel pride of this is my career and my life.
The Polish Army's 1st Regiment's mission is to train the force that protects the future of the country. Reporting from Warsaw, I'm Army Sergeant Tim Donahue, AFN News.
Tomorrow night, Sergeant Donahue takes a look at the tough training required of the 1st Regiment. Launching planes from the deck of an aircraft carrier involves much more than what you might think. Seaman Doug Herman reports on the shooters of the USS...
Any precipitation that falls will be in the form of rain, except in the extremely high elevations. Happy skiing and have a good evening.
Since 1947, more than 200 humanitarian airlifts have flown out of Rhein-Main Air Base, Germany. The Frankfurt Flughafen opened a special exhibit to commemorate that fact. Specialist Lee Allen spoke with a pilot from the first humanitarian effort from Rhein-Main, the Berlin Airlift.
The thing that makes me feel so good is the dedication of people like those that work at Rhein-Main now and have since we came here and used this base to help people in need, to save lives, to give hope to others that the future offers something better. And it's just a warm, fuzzy feeling to be here today and have the efforts of so many hard-working people in the air and on the ground recognize the people, the hard workers here. And I thought it's beautiful. The wonderful display John Provan has put together, years of work. here, models and everything he's done. There'll be thousands of people will see this exhibit in the next few months. And I'll be thinking about that back home on the farm, that there are people going through and seeing what it was like in those days, and remembering that Rhein-Main is here and Ramstein will be in the future to help fulfill the humanitarian goals that we as Americans support around the world.
Meanwhile, a wreath was laid at the Berlin Airlift Memorial in memory of the 79 service members who died while participating in the airlift operations. Reporting from Rhein-Main Air Base, Specialist Lee Allen, AFN News.
That's our newscast. Have a great weekend.